You hear me? Good. Okay. So hello, everyone. Welcome to the OWASP meetup and to the talk about the human bug bounty. So first of all, I want to thank the organizers for accepting my talk. This is actually my first public talk ever, and I'm really, thank you. And I'm really thrilled to do it here at the OWASP meetup. So thank you for that. So this talk is going to be different. It's not a technical talk. I'm not going to show a cool exploit or demonstrate some useful technology to be used. This is a thought experiment. This is a concept. This is not something that need to be a reality. I don't believe so, but it's a cool thought experiment that can help us put, maybe get to think about something in a different perspective. So I'm going to talk about a unique bug bounty program. Was you familiar with bug bounty programs? Awesome. So a bug bounty program is a reward program for companies that reporters report about vulnerabilities in their application or systems. And the reporters got a reward in exchange for the report. So I'm going to take the traditional bug bounty program and apply it to the human nature. And I'm going to do it in order to achieve self-improvement in ourselves. So let me first introduce myself. I'm Roy. I'm in the security field for the last 8 years, focusing on application security, working at Achilles as an application security engineer, always on the lookout for new and cool, innovative ways to help the security of the organization. I'm married to Liat and a father to my first baby boy, which is 4 months old. And yeah, that's it. And this is this photo and all the other photos are generated by the wonderful Midjourney. So in Achilles, also in the previous company as I worked in, I managed the bug bounty program of the company. So I received security reports, I verified them, I forwarded it to the R&D, suggested a fix, verified a fix, and paid the researchers accordingly. So this is something, as you can imagine, that takes a major time of my daily work. So I put a lot of thought into it and think a lot about it. And recently, one day, like, a thought struck my mind, like, what would happen if I could manage a bug bounty program for people to report vulnerabilities or weaknesses in other people? Would it be the same as a traditional bug bounty program? What would be different? So I like these thought experiments, and I like to play like what if about daily situations. And so I did it with this one. So later that night, I returned home from work and talked about it, presented the idea to my wife. She's a recent graduate of 2nd degree in medical psychology. And as a future psychologist, she immediately said, it's a bad and unethical idea, don't do it. But we agreed to talk about it and develop the idea. And here I am to give you the insights about it. And I'll use this opportunity to thank my wife, which is not presenting here with me, but she's always in my heart. And I want to thank her for helping me with this talk a lot, and also for what she is to me. So I hope she listens now. And so thank you, Leah. So before we dive into the world of bug bounty program, let's take a moment to talk about the traditional bug bounty program. So as I briefly mentioned before, a bug bounty program is a program that company runs to get the help of the security community in order to get reports about vulnerabilities in their systems in application. And in exchange, the company pays some kind of a reward, like a small token of appreciation or even a large cash prize. So yes. So basically, it's a win-win situation. It's like the company is getting another great resource for vulnerabilities, and reporters get a cash prize or any kind of a reward. But more than that, bug bounty programs are extremely useful to get another great resource for vulnerabilities that the company might have not known of without it. So penetration testings and code reviews sometimes miss some stuff, and it's okay, it's natural, and it happens. And the security community is very hungry for fame or even for the money, and can be very, very creative in finding unique and cool security vulnerabilities. So overall, it's a great source for gathering additional vulnerabilities in the product. And I personally believe that every company should have such a program. So yeah, let's give a few examples for bug bounties findings, just a few. So just last month, a security researcher discovered a way to bypass the Google Pixel lock screen and got rewarded $70,000 for this finding. In 2020, a security researcher found a way in Messenger for Android to get to connect to an audio call in the Messenger without the user consent, and she got $60,000 for this finding. And last year, a security researcher discovered a way to gain unauthorized camera access via Safari browser, and Apple paid him astonishing amount of $100,500. So, okay, let's continue. Let's talk about the bug bounty progress. So the application security, whoever handles it, received the report, verify, manage to fix the report with the R&D, and pays a reward for the reporter. So can we apply this process to human vulnerabilities? Let's talk about the human bug bounty and consider how this kind of program could work. So imagine a world where people can report vulnerabilities and weaknesses in others and be rewarded for doing so. So just like a traditional bug bounty program, the rewards could be ranged from a small token of appreciation to a large cash prize. But instead of fixing a problem in a computer application or system, the goal would be to improve ourselves and for personal growth. Yeah. Now, this might sound a little intimidating at first. After all, none of us are perfect, and we all have our own weaknesses and flaws. But the point of the bug bounty program is not to focus on the flaws and weaknesses. It's about finding ways to improve and grow. It's about being proactive in identifying areas that we could use some work and finding ways to address those areas. So it's not always easy to admit that we have weaknesses and areas to improvement. It can be tough to put ourselves there and ask for feedback from others. Also, setting goals and working towards achieving them takes dedication and effort. And it's not always to put ourselves out of the comfort zone to do such things. So it's totally understandable if this kind of program is not appropriate for everyone, of course. But there's one thing. While it might be challenging, it could also be potentially extremely rewarding. By actively seeking out and addressing our vulnerabilities, we can learn and grow in ways that we never imagined. And by seeking feedback from others and being open to hear from others about our weaknesses, we can also improve our communication with others about this. So, okay, so what kind of vulnerabilities we're talking about? So it's not like the OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities, right? It's about the human nature. So I created some examples that might be suitable. So everyone got their own set of quirks or quirks that make them who they are. And to help To help understand the differences, psychologists use something that's called the Big Five theory. Basically, it breaks down the personality into 5 main categories. Openness to experience, yeah, the Big Five. Openness to experience, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. So these traits tend to stay pretty consistent over time and influenced by both genetics and environments. And each category has a scale that ranges from low score to high score. So every end of the scale could potentially represent or describe a weakness in humans. So let's dive into it. I'll give some examples. Yep. So the first one is openness to experience. Basically, it refers to individual tendency to be curious, open-minded, and have a wide range of interests. So people who score low on the openness to experience may be more practical, conventional, prefer routine, don't like to try new things and stuff like that. So they might be interesting to try new things. And so a kind of report here could be maybe we only get to the restaurants you love because you don't like to try anything new. So this is kind of an example. And on the other hand, on the high score of, there are people that tend to be more creative, imaginative, and enjoy new hobbies and like arts, music, and sports. People that seek for adventures to add a little spice to their life. But this is also can be too much for the people around them. And so one, for example, report that could be, you're always seeking out new and dangerous hobbies like sports and stuff like that. That could concern some people. Next one, let's move to the conscientiousness. Nice word. It's generally described being organized, responsible, and self-disciplined. So people who score low on this category tend to be more impulsive and less reliable. They might be also less organized and might be procrastinate more stuff. So for example, one report that it's a person that borrows stuff and always lose them and never return them. And on the high end, on the high score, we got a person that is typically dependable, reliable, strive to achieve their goals. So they are often described as being efficient, hardworking, and diligent. Might be sometimes people that are perfectionist. What? Maybe. So one possible people like this might tend to do simple tasks take it to the extreme, and this could yeah, okay, sorry. Next one, let's go to the next one. Extroversion. So it refers to how outgoing and reserved the person is. So person who scores low tend to be more reserved in situations. Introverts might be want to be always at home and alone or small groups of friends. So classic about it, the report, you never want to hang out outside and stuff like that. On the other hand, of course, it's extroverts, people that want to go out, they're more expressive, they're more like to be the center of attention and stuff like that. So this kind of report could be you always pushing to take over conversation, someone pushes something, someone that always, I don't know, want to be above others, for example. Next one, agreeableness. So generally described being cooperative, empathetic, and compassionate. So people who score low on agreeableness may be more competitive, more skeptical, less concerned with the feelings of others. They are may be more independent, is less eager to please others, and may value their own needs instead of the others. So one kind of report could be, you always reject my suggestion and do only what you think is the best, and not thinking about the others. On the other hand, on the high score, so people who tend typically more sympathetic or more compassionate tend to be good listeners. They often put their needs, the other needs, before their own needs. So these kind of people maybe can be manipulated easily by someone who with bad intentions, for example. And the last one is neuroticism. Neuroticism generally describe the tendency of to experience negative emotions such as anxiety, fear, anger, and depression. So people people who score low on neuroticism generally more emotionally stable and are better able to handle stress. So they tend to be more optimistic and resilient, and may be less prone to emotional distress. So this kind of people might be a little over optimistic, and like if other friends have problems and they come to them, they might say that, oh, that's nothing, and just disregard it. On the other end, on the high score, those people are sensitive to stress, may struggle with emotional regulation. They're prone to worry, they might be insecurity, and actually they might have a greater risk to have mental health issues. So a classic for this one is someone who's stressed all the time, and it affects all his environment and other people around him. So those were a few examples. Let's talk about how the human bug bounty process would work. So this is the process of a traditional bug bounty. So if I compare it, we might say that, okay, so we received the report. There will be a few differences. So there will be some kind of a platform. The reporter will need to register and verify that he knows, like proof, give some proof of verification that he knows the person. So it won't be, of course, used for bad intentions. So this kind of proof can be a mutual friend, or I don't know, any other kind of verification. So the reporter will report something, verify the familiarity with the supported subjects, and then a group of professional staff will verify the weakness. So they will, it might be like psychologists or other professional people that can take this weakness, confront the reported subject, and verify if the weakness really exists. And then, okay, so then the subject of the report will be given the opportunity to address the vulnerability. So how would it work? So maybe a psychology therapy or other some kind of source that can self-improvement resources. And of course, at the end, there will be a reward for the reporter. So all of these stuff we talked about, raising a lot of questions, and mostly ethical considerations. So one of the primary ethical considerations of human bug bounty is the potential exposure of weaknesses in others. While the intention of the program may be to promote self-improvement, there are valid concerns about whether it's ethical to expose vulnerabilities in other people. There are also questions about who gets to decide what constitutes a weakness in a person. So one thing in one person might not be a weakness in other person. There's also a risk that this can be used to report some quirks or flaws that rather than genuine weaknesses. And this is not the goal of the bug bounty, of the human bug bounty. It's not about complaining about annoying behavior and stuff like that. It's more about deeper internal subjects. And also, sorry. Okay, so another concern is the paying, the rewards for information about vulnerabilities. So it might be unethical to pay for this kind of information. It could be actually encourage people to intentionally seek out vulnerabilities and weaknesses in others. And finally, in the security world, it's pretty easy to determine the level of a security risk based on the application and some other stuff. But who can decide briefly what's the impact on a specific person? So this is also, of course, a problem. So to summarize, I hope you're not this. It's a theoretical concept that involves individuals reporting vulnerabilities or weaknesses in others in order to promote self-improvement and personal growth. It's similar to the traditional bug bounty programs, which involve members of the public reporting vulnerabilities in companies' products, but it's in the human nature. The program will require to establish some kind of platform and registering and reporting. A triage team will need to ensure the appropriateness of our report, strict confidentiality provisions to protect privacy, and the process for verifying and addressing reported vulnerabilities with the help of psychological therapy or self-improvement. And there are also, of course, as we talked, a lot of ethical considerations to take into account, including the potential exposure of vulnerabilities or weaknesses in others, the payment for rewards for information about vulnerabilities, and the risk of abuse by those seeking personal gain rather than genuine self-improvement. Okay, and on a personal note, we are all imperfect. We all have vulnerabilities and weaknesses. And yes, this is only a theoretical idea that I had fun playing with. And I really don't think it should be a real thing, okay? But maybe we can use it as an exercise for ourselves to think about what we consider as our weaknesses. And maybe if we find some, rather than letting them hold us back, we can find a way to embrace and overcome them. So, and to become like a better version of ourselves as we see.